Hey, we're going to talk about Salaar, and boy, do we have a lot to say. It's Kathy and Melanie from Pardaisy Reviews. We have a lot to talk about because we are fresh out of Salaar. Both of us saw it yesterday, first day.
Yeah, I went to a 5 p.m. This was the kind of movie to see with a big crowd.
Yes.
I saw Donkey earlier in the day. It was the first matinee, and I don't know, maybe the quarter full. But Salaar, like, people obviously got off work early or whatever to be there. And that's the thing. Also, Indian films typically don't even have trailers. They sort of had a little trailer at the beginning for the production company.
Yeah,
I don't know if you had it too, which was kind of showing upcoming movies.
That was cool.
It was extremely
cool
because some of them were ones that I hadn't seen before. So that was very cool. But anyway, it's not like Hollywood movies at this time. There's literally going to be practically half an hour of trailers before anything. Definitely. And so, I mean, people knew they needed to be there. They need to be in their seat on the showtime.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, I have already posted a mostly spoiler-free review, and I was really excited when you texted and you're like, "You want to talk about Salaar with spoilers?" I'm like, do I ever?
Seriously. It was, first of all, it was, when I saw KGF 2, it was unbelievably loud. Like, so loud that I had to put like napkins in my ears. It was just painful loud. This movie was super loud. I don't know if it's just the way this guy mixes sound, but that's 2 movies in a row that I've seen in theaters that they almost killed me. So I felt very assaulted by this film.
I didn't even notice. Maybe mine had it dialed down and yours had it dialed up. I don't know. I mean, definitely it was not a quiet contemplative kind of film.
It was not quiet at all. And so, I heard people cheering, but just barely, because it was so loud.
Because I was surrounded by people who were cheering, so it was super fun. And that's the thing. Being in a big crowd meant, like, I wasn't embarrassed that I was yelling too the minute Prabhas came on screen.
I know, I was like clapping, and I'm like, I don't have to be embarrassed because people get it. They're not going to complain. Yeah. So, for just superficial impressions, I loved his shoes in this. I don't know. Every time, and they showed it a lot. I saw their shoes a lot. And I'm like, those are nice. Well, those are really nice too. And they ended up being kind of a thing, which I thought was hilarious.
Okay, well, I have a thing for Prithviraj, and Prithviraj with the muscles and the collar thing and the nose ring was totally doing it for me. Totally doing it for me. I still have to share the movie with you.
Yes.
And yeah.
Look, we're gonna be a little of that this
where he leans into his sexiness as a Southern star. But I mean, he was bringing it as well. But what I said in my review is you have to realize my channel exists because of Bahubali. Yeah. Okay, because somebody approached me.
Same.
First,
so funny.
The first day, first show, I saw on IMAX Bahubali 2. And there was somebody from another YouTube channel, which doesn't exist anymore, called Bolly Fools. And they said, I'm seeing the next show. Can I just get your quick reaction? Pointed their phone at me, and I was able to give a spoiler-free review like in 10 minutes, right? And then they were like, have you ever thought about being on YouTube? And then help me. I was on their channel, whatever. And then I went solo.
Great.
So my entire 6 years on YouTube is because of Bahubali.
Wow.
And I've been waiting that long for Prabhas to have a good movie again. Seriously. Like, I'm a huge fan. I love his earlier work where they're more rom-coms, they're silly. I shared Murchie with you, which I think is one of the best of his, that was right.
We all know we love the guitar.
Oh, yeah. Nobody can make a guitar cool.
That's how good he is. He almost made that look good.
Almost.
Okay. He gave it a very good shot.
But there has been, like, I don't know if it's laziness or he just took whatever script was thrown at him, but nothing has worked. Nothing. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say how much I paid for his next film right after Bahubali. Took my husband, and my husband was like, I don't even understand what's happening. I'm like, it's not just you, because no one can understand what's happening in this movie.
No.
So he tried. He did a lot of big action things. And then Adipush, I think you did see this year.
Yes.
Horrible CGI.
I don't even feel like he was in that. Nobody was in that. It didn't feel like an actor movie at all. I was like, who? I'm
Like,
gonna even just pretend like it didn't happen.
Right, like it should have been in his wheelhouse, and yet the way they CGI'd him, it was horrible. So I have been waiting 6 years, Kathy, for this.
Yes, I know.
To have that feeling again of him striding in slow-mo, slicing people's heads off with a sword. I mean, I'm so bloodthirsty when it comes to Telugu movies.
He is the king of that.
There is no one who can do it better than Prabhas.
I have to say, he's got some flair with that. He totally does. And I was watching a master at work. When I saw this, I felt like this is what I was hoping he would be. And he is.
Yes.
And this is what I expected to have from other movies that didn't even come close. So he became, to me, a massive star in this. He always was. But in this one, you could tell this is a huge star, and he was being a huge action star. Now he made it. And this director is perfect for that because he did it for Yash. So
right.
I love that he did that.
Yeah, we saw the trailer and we both were kind of like, is this just KGF again? Right? Because it looked the same.
Yeah,
had the
desaturated tones.
Yeah, desaturated. Everything's covered in coal dust kind of look.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a fight scene in a mine. Okay, but then
that's about it.
To quote Shruti Haasan, wait, what?
I love that. He's like, this is happening and this is happening. Hold on, I need a drink.
Yeah.
So
we were all Shruti. I mean, we were all Shruti because with the whole second half, when he's explaining the whole flashback, I'm like, what? Wait, what? What?
I enjoyed that because I needed it because I did barely understand. There was a lot of action. I'm like, I do not understand what's happening. But at the same time, it felt like a weird artifice for me to have these narrators that are kind of just traveling in the street talking about the action. It felt that was a little bit off to me, but they made it entertaining. They put it into the story. It kind of made sense. They were traveling and trying to get somewhere. So it made sense, but it was kind of like, you know why you're having to do this? Because you cannot tell me with the script what's happening just with the action because it's so confusing. But that's okay.
Well, I mean, didn't it almost be an anime or a manga or something like an adaptation? Because it was like this alternate universe world.
Yes.
Right? Where you have this king of this kingdom, but it's
this
modern
weird
day
mishmash of like
it's modern day where people have cell phones and cars and every kind of weapons that you can possibly imagine.
Oh, weapons. What the hell? But all you really need is an axe and machete, and so you don't really.
I don't even know what those things are called. Where you have the rocket launchers.
Yes, those are so cool.
From the back. Yeah, you just pulls those out of the back of the cars. You do. I mean, doesn't everybody travel with those?
I have in my trunk right now. But I think what I really was intoxicating to me was the shots of Prabhas from the back, just kind of looking, and the way he stands. His body language is so perfect. He's got this, I'm relaxed, but I look freaking hot and strong at the same time. You wouldn't want to mess with me, but he had this cool way of just posing, and it never looked artificial. It looked like, he's relaxed, and he just looks like a model in a catalog because he's so
clenching his hand. Like
I love that.
It's like, okay, I would say he looks like a tiger that is at rest, but you have always this tension of this thing could just leap and attack at any second. That's kind of the vibe that he gives at every moment.
He had this really passive look on his face at all times. Like it started with the two, like he was just kind of dead in his eyes. So the kid, the early, the prologue.
Okay, let's just say those kid actors were awesome, right from the get-go. They were really so good.
And I love the kid that looked kind of like Michael Jackson. He was awesome. So that was great. But I like how they made them look very different. Like you could really tell who was who. And then their body language really matched what the adult actors did. So that was a really hard one to pull off. Those were really good actors. They didn't overdo it. And they were just enough. I love how they were all playing. And you're like, Prabhas would never do that. It's like he grew out of it. But we can get back to the whole kid thing with the electrocution. Because I think that might be something. But so we have Prabhas, who's the big star. And then we have Prithviraj. So he's in there and he's kind of barely in it. And then he finally comes on the scene. Like he comes on the scene, but he's not really doing a lot. He does a lot of this, like standing and looking and watching Prabhas. So I feel like in the trailer, I felt like he had a lot more to do. Like I feel like he was a star. He was in like the majority of the trailer. He's got a lot going on, right? Finally, I love like during the last half, they really let him have his moment, like beyond. Like
Yeah.
it must be so exciting to have these great the machete scene, the zombie scene. That we'll get to that. And then, like,
I mean,
he got to be passive, and then
remember.
he encompassed, like, he became almost infected by Prabhas. So he's like, I'm going to do this. And he just was perfect. I think he now has also shown he is capable of also being an action hero. So,
Okay, so just
filmmakers
imagine
out
this
there.
is the guy. This is a guy who is a star in Malayalam cinema.
Yes. Yes.
So in his every day-to-day films, he never gets to do shit like this.
Never.
Ever.
It's
Okay,
so great.
fist fights, yes. Incredible tension, yes. Normally a cerebral kind of hero in a horror film, okay.
Yes.
I mean, you can see the intelligence in his eyes, and like there's always these, gears whirling and whatever. That's what, and he has that stage presence, screen presence of like, I am regal, right?
Yes. Very.
And so I loved that this tension between Prabhas and Prithviraj on screen at all times. This incredible bond. I mean, it was so awesome. I was so happy for Prithviraj because I've been his fan for a very long time. And to see him, yes, has he been in sort of action scenes, whatever. He has also been in Hindi cinema, in certain things, but nothing like this, nothing epic like this. Oh,
I mean, this director knows how to do incredible stylized action. And this is pure stylized action. Now, they had a lot of like that opening scene fight. I mean, not the opening scene, the first big fight where Prabhas finally like kicks into gear, literally, vroom, 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 which I love that artifice of the engine starting. So I love that. And that was spectacular. Like, you're like, whoa, like it was beautiful. Great. I feel like he should change it up a little as the movie evolved. I feel like we saw kind of the relatively the same type of action in every fight. Like it was a lot of people flying through the air and people flying through the air and people flying.
Well,
and I loved it, but I wish they had kind of done something a little. The one thing they did do that I loved, I mean, just a little more, where he has the two machetes and then the guy, he goes through the guys and they just flip. He almost looks like a peacock with the knives coming from
Well,
behind
I think
him.
it's supposed to be like an Indian god statue with all the different swords coming out.
Oh
That's
God.
what
Beautiful
it's supposed to look like.
Beautiful
It's supposed to look like.
And I guess,
I mean, it was amazing.
But that's a tiny quibble because I loved the choreography and the stunt work was amazing.
I mean, I was thinking about, if you think about the two Bahubali films, Bahubali the older was a master of every weapon. Bahubali the younger didn't know how to use weapons except as a blunt instrument, and doesn't actually pick up a sword and really use it as a sword until he decapitates the prince. But otherwise, it's brute force, just wailing on people and with his fists, knocking them around. And that's what I felt like the beginning of the movie was that.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, it was just like boom, boom, boom.
And then in the second half was picking up all the machetes and axes and just slicing through the place. Like,
and grenade launchers and machine guns, which he just happened to have on hand because but I love the idea that
everyone.
I know. I love the idea that he was kind of he again, we just saw Jagapathi Double X. So like he reminded me a little of Clint Eastwood, when he was like the man with no name. He kind of comes into it, he's really passive. Who's this guy? Oh, he's my army. What? It's just one guy. Yeah, I know. And so he's just really passive. He kind of sits there and kind of sulks a lot, and then he's like, and I love how so Prithviraj is in a moment and he realizes something's happening. He's like, oh shit, I don't want him to, come on, we gotta go over here. Just don't pay attention to that girl screaming over there being raped. It's okay. We're gonna go over here. And so you can tell like Prabhas was kind of like, I don't know. Like he's almost like an animal reacting to people in peril, like a superhero, right? He wants to protect his friend, but there is a girl over here, right? So I hear my fire alarms going off right now. They're doing a little test. You hear that? They're like, things are on fire. I'm like, whoo, it is hot in here with talking about Prabhas. But anyway,
I know.
so
I mean, yeah, they showed all of these things
yes,
that there's threats to Prithviraj
he's
or
almost like a pit
insults,
bull.
and he's always just like, no, no, not
Nope,
yet, not
nope,
yet,
nope,
not
nope.
yet.
And he's kinda like you can see him kinda like getting a little antsy, like, "I really wanna do" no, no, no. And I love how he was really passive, and then he wouldn't be able he knew once he started, I love this too, where he would just go, "I'm just gonna have to sit and watch," because you can't stop him. I mean, they don't understand, it's not that he's
Actually, in
not
that
trying,
scene,
you can't.
Prithviraj just closes his eyes.
The
I don't
last
know if
scene,
you
he
noticed
finally is
that.
like, closing the eyes, "I'm not even gonna
It's
watch it."
like I'm not. It's like
He
if
goes,
I
"Don't
didn't
you
see
see
it,
what's
maybe it didn't
happening?"
happen.
Yeah, he's like, "I've seen it. I don't need to see it." He's like, "I don't need to see this." So I love that he just stands there and you just see him in the background. You just see this figure standing, right? And they even made a thing out of where he made Prabhas cross his arm. I keep calling him his actor names,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
and
yeah,
you see a
it's
shadow
yeah.
arm cross, and then you see the shadow kind of starting to undo his arms, and then he's like,
That was epic. Okay,
so
that whole sequence. Let's talk about
that was
that.
one of my favorite scenes.
And
The
mine
scene
too. At
with the
first, I'm
girls
like,
village.
okay, we're kind of on a cul-de-sac here,
Yeah.
like because there was this countdown clock to
Yes.
the ceasefire vote and whatever. And then
Right.
I'm like, okay, we're going on this little
Little side
cul-de-sac. And
story.
then I'm like,
I love how that built up. We got a little bit of insight, and like basically he's a serial killer.
yeah,
The other person who's in line for the throne that they
whatever.
want.
Yeah,
Yeah, just a generic
son,
bad guy who
son,
looked like a
son of yeah,
total douchebag. He was all
son of
Mr.
whatever,
Rock and
son of
Roll,
whatever. Yeah. Oh my
his
god.
his stupid suits and his sunglasses. He's just hateable
And his
from the get go. His super cool
hair.
hair, like he's
Yeah.
just, So he was basically going into this village, and I love this artifice. He would have someone fly a kite, and they would cut the kite, and then wherever the kite landed, he got to pick a girl, or a girl would have to come out of the house, and he got to take her back and basically rape and kill her. And then
Yeah.
he'd come back the next day
Yeah.
and rape and kill. So this is what he's doing in his spare time. So when they come upon the scene of this starting to happen, we see Prabhas starting to coil like a snake. He's starting to get like, oh, okay, there's that. And so they know it's over, it's done. But I love how it's starting to happen, and the girl starts chanting. They're all and it's beautiful too, like Handmaid's Tale. They're all in these beautiful
Yeah,
red
because everything has been such muted grays
yes,
and browns and whatever,
oh,
and then then it
stills.
makes the red that all of these women and girls are wearing just pop, just
Mm.
pop.
Beautiful. So you have this sort of, dry, kind of, red clay looking, just really dry, dim down. Even the statue they used to worship is all cobwebby and dull, and they start doing this chant. All the women start coming in, and there's just this women, all these red robes everywhere, and they're young too. Some of them are very young. And it's only women in this village
Right.
apparently.
And they're
They start
pounding,
chanting.
and they're
Oh,
pounding with their feet, and oh my god,
and
it's like chills, just
they're just like,
chills.
"Da, da, da," whatever and so you see them, and they're starting to get a little more amped, and they're starting to look crazier and crazier, and the tension building and the music in that scene and Prabhas just unleashing on this. Oh my god! That was to me, the best scene in the movie. Just
I mean, the
love
man
everything
has
about it.
very little dialogue, but
Mm.
he heard that the two women accomplices of the
Yes.
bad
Yes.
guy who were
Yeah.
like, "Oh, just wait, let us dress her like a lady or whatever,"
Yeah.
and
We'll
then
make
so
her
then
hot.
he echoes that, "Oh, let's just wait and dress him like a lord," and like rubs the powder in his face.
So I love too, like when Prabhas unleashes and goes crazy and literally kills everyone in sight until his target is dead. Like if anyone gets his way, it's basically like there's my target. Anyone who gets his way is killed instantly. Like whatever it is. Like he is like a superhero, and that's what I want to
Yeah,
discuss too. So I love after that, they're in jail. He's sitting like, and after all these big things, he kind of sits and he goes, sorry. It's sort of like, and it's not even like it's just it's not even I am sorry or sorry about that. It's just sorry, period. And Prithviraj is like, oh my god, this keeps happening.
it's like my dude. We
It's
had a
like why?
plan.
It's like he has like you said, a tiger as a pet, and yet you can't control that tiger. Once it decides it wants to do something, you're pretty much helpless, and then he knows that now. But then it starts.
Yeah,
So
I mean, let's talk about the fact that this is part one, which I didn't really focus in on, right, from the trailer, right? This is part one. There's so much world building,
so much.
so much world
Yes.
building.
It's
Okay,
almost Game of Thrones time 100.
that we reach a certain point, and I was like looking at my watch. I'm
I know.
like,
I'm like, it's gonna
I
be
didn't know
over.
how much, not because I was bored, but I was
Yeah.
like, how much more are they going to be able to do? Like, how long is this movie?
Yeah.
Like,
And I feel like they're
And
setting up this big scene, and you're like, but we only have like 5 minutes.
right. And I would just like, oh my God, what is like?
Mm.
So they set up all these characters. They set up this imaginary kingdom. Like that's erased from the map. I'm like, oh my
I
God.
love that. They're like, it's like, now it explains it. They're not even on a map. They can't even be
Okay.
held accountable because they don't really exist.
So they set up. They've used all this CGI to create this palace,
Which
to
was very well
create this.
done.
Yes,
Seamless.
to create
They
this world, to
didn't
create
overdo
these
it.
cities, to create
Mhm.
all of this look.
Yes.
And we're just completely on board with all of it. It's like, the palace and Bahubali, like everything looks real. I'm completely on board with all of this,
That's right.
right? And what world building? Like I was not expecting that.
Yeah. I know, and I'm
My
kinda
mind
like,
was blown.
and it kind of looked like it was somewhere, and they talked about crossing certain borders, and you're like, where the hell are they? Like, and I love that they brought you into it in a little bit of familiarity, but then they brought in this full fantasy world. And I don't mean
Yes.
fantasy, and but I thought the
Right.
CGI, everybody's like, it's too much CGI. I'm like, no, it isn't. That thing to me
No,
was seamless.
no.
They didn't overdo the CGI. That was the
It
whole
was
point.
perfect.
They did not overdo it. It was mostly just background. It's like what Game of Thrones would do, like extend up, make
Yeah.
things taller or make it more expansive, but it wasn't like a ton of CGI on them or anything. I mean, there's a little, I'm
No.
sure the stunt work
No.
had some CGI and people flying through the air, but that's okay. I'm fine. So then, we have this great story, this political takedown, and I'm like, why don't they just add a seat? When they go to do all this, let him have a seat. What the hell? So they have like these certain amount of seats. You watch it to get the lowdown, but basically, I love the vote where and the idea of it all has to do with the bracelets. The bracelets are your
Yeah.
territories, I guess you could like. So when the young kid
Right.
gave away his bracelet to save his
Right.
mother, Prabhas was like, he did that for me, and he gave away a big piece of territory to this horrible person.
Right, the biggest one. Like you
Yeah.
saw that he had
Big, thick
a
bracelet.
couple of smaller ones and the big thick one.
Yeah,
And
I
so
love that.
when we first see that scene, we don't completely get
No.
the significance. And I love how we
Yeah.
learn the significance over time.
Yep.
I mean, there's so much there with Prithviraj being doesn't seem like he's illegitimate, but it seems like he's from a second wife or
Yeah.
something like that. I also like if you think about the stuff in the first half, like we still don't know what was the cataclysm that made Prabhas and his mother be on the run.
Yeah, true.
Because all of this, the ceasefire stuff,
Yeah.
that all happens in the past. Like I think it's supposed to be 2017, right? So they've been
Mhm.
on the run for whatever 6 years or something. If we
Yeah.
are on real time, because I don't even know. Because
It's time in their world. We have no idea.
okay. But so like we have what I guess is Prithviraj's half sister, whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
that she's the one that's so crazy in the first half and
Yeah.
wanting to find Shruti, the
He was
daughter
cool.
of the right.
Yeah.
Like I mean, like there's all of this.
Yeah.
We still don't. There's so much that we still don't know. There's
Yeah.
so much that's still left. For how many movies are there going to be? I'm not even confident that there's only one more. Like
I don't think they
like,
even know. I mean,
so
we have
much.
KGF 2. There's going to be KGF 3, and there's going to be this could be a franchise that could go on for as long as people will watch them.
And you sort of feel like the ceasefire ending at midnight, which is kind of where we left, that they were starting to prepare for that. It's like going to be the purge or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because when they lose it's like they let go of the ceasefire. It's like, oh shit, I mean, everybody comes out with their guns, they're shooting the place up. Like, what happens now? I mean, it wasn't
well,
good.
So in the first half, we have this whole setup of the seal, right? Which sort of looks like a devil or a joker or something, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's afraid of it. Yeah. Then we find out Prabhas has tattooed it. And like when they're fighting the zombies, I love the whole dialogue between Prithviraj and Prabhas when they're fighting the zombies, because that's when they're catching up. It's like, boy, I was expecting you a little earlier. Well, I had to get my tattoo done.
And he's just like, and his expression's like, oh, this guy. Oh, so funny. Yeah. So the zombies. So first of all, I love, who was the actor who played the really crazy Lord?
I don't know, but
he was
awesome.
hilarious. So he was hilarious. I'm like, I can't wait to see this guy get killed.
Tell us in the comments, because I've seen him as a supporting role.
Me too. I've seen him in other stuff.
Never as crazy and off the chain as this one.
I feel like he got off a little easy. I was expecting something a
Mhm.
little more because they made him such a big deal, but that's okay. But that's when it starts turning into the zombie thing. So he starts creating his army of like crazed, basically homeless people. They starts
Drugs.
injecting with drugs to make them completely
Yeah.
lose their minds, to be bloodthirsty, crazed zombies. Basically, they're not
Yeah.
dead, but
They're not
they look
dead.
just like
I
zombies.
right. They're not dead, but yet they act just like the fast zombies.
Yeah,
They're like fast
yes,
zombies.
the
They're
fast
not the
zombies.
slow, creepy. Yeah, they're the fast zombies. They're like
And
trained to Busan fast zombies.
exactly. And so we get the reveal that Prithviraj can also fight. These zombies are let go in this where the guy puts them in an arena. It's like a hallway, but
Right.
so our crazy lord, we'll call him the crazy lord. He puts Prithviraj in there to fight the zombies. So 3 or 4 come out, and he
Right.
pretty much dispatches them
Colors
pretty
him in
quickly.
red. I love that they
Yes,
go
puts the
crazy for
red
color.
paint because they're crazy about paint, red. And I love it. He starts kicking ass. I'm like, oh, so he got skills. Okay, we did not
Yep.
know this. So I
Yep.
love that he goes, okay, got all this done. Then they start another batch comes running in. He's like, all right, fine. And then another batch. Then all of a sudden it's like, release the
From all
hounds. It was
directions.
like a mob of like
Yeah,
100 or something.
all
He's
from
like,
all
oh fuck.
directions. There's no
So
way.
I love his battle. Like he pulls a door off and he's pushing him back with this huge metal door. So I thought it was a great idea. Another great action concept. And so then they start pushing him back. So he basically gets like jams himself into a corner with the door. So he's packed into this little space where these zombies trying to get him. And I love the idea that they kind of all of a sudden they just stop and turn. And I'm like, oh, let them please go after that guy. But they went the other way. And they're like, and he's like, where are they going? Well, we find out. So I love that scene. That was great. It was just a fun little reveal of his power, and
Yeah.
then we get and I don't know. I I just I'm so excited.
I
I
mean,
don't know which scene to talk
there's
about
so
first.
many great set pieces,
Yeah,
action set pieces.
so many.
But a day later, I'm thinking about the world building. I'm thinking
Mhm.
about how many
Yeah,
unanswered questions we have. We don't know because Prithviraj in the first half, I think, says he broke the seal. He's the one that set up the rule. He
yeah.
has to die. So we
Mhm.
have that hanging
Yep.
over us.
And he's like,
We
"Damn it."
we don't know. We don't know why Prabhas was on the run with his mother. Like,
Mhm.
how bad did it get for his mother to go on the road with him and forbid him from ever doing any violence? Because in the
Yeah,
first half, he doesn't even make a move to rescue Shruti until his mom
right.
says it's okay.
Mhm.
You know.
That's right.
So what happened? What was so bad that his
Yeah,
mother's like, no, right? So we have that unanswered question.
yeah.
Plus, we have the whole purge ceasefire thing being broken.
Yep.
We also don't know, like, they didn't use Jagapathi Babu, who is the actor that plays the king of
Yes.
the
He was
imaginary
great.
kingdom.
He was
Okay.
fun.
You probably have seen him. He frequently does villain roles. I absolutely adore him.
It's great.
And we didn't get a lot of him in this movie.
No.
So I'm wondering, okay, he's going to be around for the breaking of the ceasefire, but
Yeah.
he was the one that set up that he wanted Prithviraj to
Yeah.
get a chair, right? So
And the deciding vote, ultimately.
right, and so what is his plot? Like there's
Yeah.
a whole like it's like there could have been a movie just about that, like the
Yeah.
family
Yeah.
dynamics of the sister, the half sister, the half brother, Prithviraj, all of that, jockeying for position, whatever. But then there's all this other stuff on top and zombies.
So much stuff. And honestly, all I cared about was those scenes of, Prabhas standing on a hillside in his great
With his
looking
his
jeans and
shirt rippling
t-shirt.
in the wind.
And I love that too. Like he's the big hero. He's a big guy, but they just had him in like his kind of just dirty shirts, his jeans, his cool boots. He just looked kind of just like one of the
Yeah.
people. He wasn't like they didn't slick him up or anything. And I love that. And he looked fantastic in those
Oh my
clothes.
God. Oh my
So
God.
I love that camera's lingered. Every scene was basically a hero entry scene for him.
Oh yeah.
Every single scene had him
I
looking
know.
like
It wasn't
badass
just
as
one, it
hell,
was
not
over and
wasted,
over and over
over and over.
again.
Never
And
got tired of it.
I ate it up with a spoon. I
I
completely
was
ate
fine with
it
it.
up.
It was so good. But as a successor to KGF, if you like KGF 2 and KGF, you'll love this. I feel like it had
Right.
a little lighter tone. I love and the other thing that was great too is they had a lot of strong female characters in this. A lot. Like women who mattered. And
Right.
that is something you just don't have. Didn't have them in KGF.
Right. So you had
Didn't
you
have
had
so
the half sister, I don't know if to call her a princess, whatever, the
yeah.
king's daughter,
Yep.
who he trusted her versus the other son
Yeah.
to act as regent or whatever in
Right.
his stead. When okay, we still don't know why he left the kingdom. Like that's a big question mark as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he said he went to arrange the arms deal, which then was going back to the kingdom to the one guy, and that older guy, like again, supporting actor in so many different things, both
Yeah. There were a
comedic
lot of
and
familiar faces.
menacing. That so many familiar faces, but like we hardly saw anything with him.
Yeah.
And then at the end, we're like, he has this huge room full of weapons, and we know in the
Yep.
purge, like he's gonna
When that ceasefire happens, they're coming out.
okay, like that he's gonna be major.
That
Then
movie's
we
doing
have
that.
this whole subplot about how the tribe that was supposedly killed off, that Prabhas is part of that tribe and son of the king.
And they are
What?
the baddest of the badasses. You don't
I
cross
mean,
these people
that
ever, which
I
is, I
was
think,
like,
hilarious.
I'm so glad you had me on to talk about this today, because yesterday I'm like, I couldn't spoil anything. But at the end, weren't you like, well, of course he is.
Was there any doubt? I
Of
mean,
course
of
he's the
course.
king. Of course he's the prince, the king that should be, because it's Prabhas. Like,
I know it's Prabhas. He's got the blood in him. All right, so let's talk about this opening scene, because this is where I feel like it went a little supernatural, a little superhero, and I don't know if that's intentional or if that's just a little extra level. So we have the two kids. The one kid is like his sort of like his bodyguard, where he protects him
yeah.
all the time. So there's this big event happening where they have these big strongmen. I mean, these
Right.
huge
Like a
guys.
wrestling competition
Yeah, and
type,
it's
kind
like,
of like
I
it's like
dare you.
it's like
Yeah.
gladiators.
Yeah, and it was like they were out where like people could come in and try and take them out. Yeah, come on in, challenge me. So the the bullies who are bullying Prithviraj's younger version have his nose ring, and they won't give it back unless he knocks down the strong man. That's
And I
kind of the
think that's
setup.
I think that's the other half brother that we see
Yes,
later.
yes, the other half brother. You're right, the jerk. So
Right, the jerk. Yeah.
so being Prabhas's character in the back, always nearby, he's always listening, and he's like, I'm gonna go do something. So he goes wandering. You don't know what he's doing. So he's starting to set up this thing. You don't know what it is. He climbs up this electric pole. He gets some snipper. There's something he's setting up, and so he goes in. He goes, and the half brother saying, if you can knock down the strong man, you can have it back. So Prabhas's like, he's like this big.
I mean, it
So
looks like he's 13 or 14 or whatever.
exactly,
Yeah.
he's a child, and so the strong man's like, get out of here. No way. And he starts pushing him and challenging him, and then he realizes people are laughing at him. He's, well, I'm gonna have to take out this kid, I guess. Like, okay. So they have a big scene where the basic construct is he knocks down this power line. It's a live wire. The strongman's coming to grab him. He grabs the wire. They both get electrocuted.
Right.
He knocks the strongman down. So it worked, but he also knocked himself down, knocked him on his
I
ass.
mean, they
You
sort
get
of
this big
imply that he
burn.
died. They
Yeah.
imply
We had
that he died, and
Right.
that Prithviraj had to pound his
That's right.
chest to get his heart to beat again.
And then we notice too, like he has the black veiny scar, whatever, through his neck, and then he also has some black veins through his arm that Prithviraj started noticing about halfway through the movie, and he's like, And then you wonder, because he's so effortless, did this somehow give him some superhuman power? He already kind of had the blood in him that made him
I
a
mean,
great warrior.
it's how many
It felt
origin
like a
stories have we
superhero.
seen? It
Yeah,
was like a superhero
it
origin
totally
story.
was. And I'm like, is this supposed to be a superhero? But he was super laid back. Like, is the next movie gonna be he's a little more slick? I hope not, because I like him in his.
I mean, when he went to grab the wire, I was like, okay, he's going to grab up and then just shove the
Yeah,
live part of it into the guy's face. I didn't think he was also going to grab the exposed electrical part himself. So I was really surprised.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit, right?
Like,
what an
so
incredible
did that
setup.
activate something? Because
Right.
he already had the kind of sociopathic tendency of like just sort of dead in the eyes and just being violent to protect his friend at any moment. Everybody was a little afraid of him. Even at the very beginning as a little kid, he was a little off. So he had that already, but the electrical moment, that big scene where maybe he absorbed the strong man's power or something.
I don't know.
I'm looking at it through a superhero lens, because it seemed very intentional. They had this big strong guy, and that they both get knocked out, and then suddenly he's super strong. It just seemed kind of like,
But yet, if you think about the next scene we see with the kids,
yeah,
is that Prabhas as a kid is trying to
love that scene.
nail his mom into so that the bad guys can't come in and get her and kill her. When we see that, we don't know that it's an entire purge of that tribe. We don't get that.
God, that was brutal.
And so I just thought, oh, maybe, it's kill off everybody in the family. Or I thought his mother was going to be taken to be used by somebody else, right? Like I didn't really know that she was going to be killed. It could have just been she's going to be raped, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But he doesn't have powers in that moment. So that happened after. But like he doesn't have. He's still a kid. Like he doesn't.
He's a kid,
and a couple of kids grab him, and he's being held back. But
it took him a while to figure it out, though.
Yeah, but the rage in him,
yes,
is from that. It's ignited from that moment, and and I think later somebody says about the girl being attacked, like that whenever he sees a woman being attacked, he sees his mother.
Yes, that was great.
That is like this primal event in his life, primal trauma that everything else comes from that moment.
And he took a kind of childlike affect of this, like the tantrum in a way that he would throw and he'd do all this damage. Like he almost can't control himself. And there's the great scene where he's in that village and he likes to play with the kids. He goes and he plays, cricket with them and he hangs out with kids. And then finally the kids go, "Don't you have any friends that are your age?"
Yeah,
he's
right.
like, because I think he always imagines us to kind of like a kid. I mean, he does act kind of like a kid, very passive.
Well, and you see, like, this is a guy that's in his 30s, and yet he's always looking for his mother's permission.
Yes.
For anything.
He's like, "Yes, mother. Yes, mother.
Yes, I'll be home by 6.
You were late. Oh, never again. It will never happen again." Like very, very obedient. And so you get a little hint of the crack starting to show when there's that birthday party and he grabs that knife and all of a sudden the mom's like, "Ah!" Like the idea that he has a weapon is like
it's just a plastic knife, but yet his mother goes apeshit. Like,
and then you're like, are they a run because he's everywhere they go, he massacres people? I don't know.
That's the thing. It's like we are still left with so many questions, but what this director, Prashanth Neel, has set us up with. I like the fact that it's not just a stupid action movie that I'm not thinking about.
No, there's a lot of heart.
There's so much and so many open questions and places that they can go. And there were things that surprised me. It wasn't the same old.
No.
Okay. I mean, like you said, okay, you could say elements were like Game of Thrones. Elements were like this. Elements were like that.
KGF.
Scenes that were like KGF. And yet, all of it all mixed together, there were still things that surprised me, amazing visuals that I'd never seen before. This director, like I'm just in awe. I'm just in awe.
He's awesome, and he knows how to stage big set pieces. He knows how to dial in when you have a huge scene like that, to dial in small moments that I really like. Like I remember there's just like an interesting shot of like almost Prabhas just out of focus. And just there's a little bit of like something fluttering in the foreground, just beautiful shots just alone, like inside of these big actions. It's not just like pow, 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 pow. It's like these little tiny moments of stillness. And speaking of, we talked about how loud this movie was. The music was way like you could pull back the music a teeny bit. It was overbearing. It was like every moment was amped up. Like even if it was like, boom, I'm gonna go boom to the bathroom, but it was like everything was like huge. There's not a moment that every line was said with the most utmost importance, with the music cue behind it every time. Then we had that great scene in the what do we call it, like the royals room when they're having the big showdown,
the throne room,
the throne room, and the king has to, the guy the father of the asshole that Prabhas killed and the girl, the rapist. So he has to come down and he gets to cut off one of their heads, either Prithviraj or Prabhas.
Right.
When Prabhas, we know what's going to happen when he just has those chains. I'm like, okay. So he makes a great scene where he pulls a weapon away from a guard, slips around, cuts the guy's head off. Dead silence. It was like,
I know,
and you could hear a pin drop in the theater. Everybody was like, because you're just holding your breath and you're like, quiet right now. And all of a sudden, brr, came back. But I love that in the middle, like bombastic, blah, loud. All of a sudden, kink. I wish there'd been a couple more like that, but that was a very powerful moment and just its stillness. And then you were sitting in this room and everyone's just standing there for a moment. Nothing's moving, no sound. It was fantastic.
I know.
Fantastic.
I mean, the chutzpah of this director to know to include a moment of silent, like let the moment breathe.
Yeah, exactly.
As the same as the characters on the screen are in shock. Mm-hmm. We're kind of in shock.
Whoa.
and yeah, let us take in that moment. Yeah, masterful. So really.
And
masterful.
Then it was later. It was like, sorry. Once again, oh yeah, that whole cutting off the head thing. Sorry. What's so funny?
Yeah,
so, but overall, huge crowd pleaser, super fun. Prabhas has never looked better. Seriously, the man looks amazing. They really gave him the full hero treatment the whole way. Humble, but then heroic, strong, but out of control. You know, he had so many layers. Perfect thing for him. I made him a pure massive star. He has now erased any bad will in the past. He is here, and I'm excited for his next.
Right, and we have part 2 to come. Right,
and part 2 of Salaar.
Okay, and I don't know. I don't know when that's coming or what it's called. You know, we had no clue about the whole ceasefire thing. That seemed weird. Now we get it. That was a major plot point of half of the movie, at least.
The countdown, day 9, day 7. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, this whole I'm just the imagination of this director. I am in awe of how he took some things that were familiar and yet surprised me, and wrote such an amazing script that had so much. Like, you definitely can't say, "Oh, this was a thin script. There wasn't
almost too much." Like, what?
Yeah,
so many.
Again, to quote Shruti, wait, what? I need a drink.
I know, seriously. I like where he's filling her in and she's like, whoa. What is this? It was really cute. That was fun. I enjoyed that. So be sure. Any last thoughts, Melanie, on this movie?
I loved it. I loved it. Like, I mean, we're doing a live tonight. Spoilers, everybody. My number 1 Telugu movie of the year is going to be Salaar. Like, I go in, I was like, gee, I don't know. And I realized, you know, you and I have watched quite a few classic movies in Telugu language, but there really hasn't been there's been cross-language things, like you could in some ways call Animal a Telugu film because it was released in only Hindi, and it was released in Hindi and Telugu were the 2 main languages. But there was Dasara earlier this year that was quite good. That was going to be my pick if Salaar was a dud. But this just not. There is only one. There is only one.
Baby.
Oh.
That was an enjoy. If you guys have seen our review of Baby, you should watch it. We had a lot of fun being like completely aghast at this film. So definitely watch that. It won't be our top film. I'll just say. I mean, it was well made, but it had problems.
Now that you've seen Arjun Reddy, remember that's Vijay Kiragandar's younger brother trying to be
that Arjun Reddy life makes sense. Okay,
now do you get it? Put all those dots together.
What happened to these men? Okay, so
I mean, be sure. It was just great to go to the movies and have a really fun, big experience again. It was. I would just say that.
It was great. It delivered. I had a great time, and I feel like I kind of came full circle because one of the first movies I've seen in the theater that were an Indian film was KGF 2, and it's nice to go, wow, it's been that long, and now seeing this man's next film, another big, huge action film, and I feel like, they're like almost like landmarks for me now. It's like, oh my god, that's how long I've been doing this. All right, be sure and subscribe to Melanie's channel and Per Daisy Reviews. Make sure and let us know in the comments. Dying to know. We want to talk to you guys about what you thought about this movie. I feel like there's going to be a lot of discussion. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.